broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
AFTERBUZZ TV American Crime.
I don't hear it.
Hey there, everybody. How you guys doing? My name's Jon Manganello, and I am here for episode 7 of American Crime here on AFTERBUZZ TV. And today we have a very special guest. You guys, one of the stars of the show, Gwendoline Yeo, is here with us today. Welcome, Gwendoline. We are so happy to have you.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be here. Can you hear me? Your mic's okay?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Folks, live television. We're having a
Sabotage.
Sabotage.
We can hear you. Do you want to just do the show one at a
Sabotage.
Because I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can you
Everything
pull it up?
good?
You pull it up a little bit?
We're working on it.
Yeah,
In the
working
meantime,
on it,
I'm
yeah.
going to show you, or tell you, how you guys can find Gwendoline.
That's me.
That's me.
That was you?
Oh, yeah.
Me
I'm
too.
sorry, okay.
Oh, here it. Oh, I don't know. Hold on.
Thanks for being patient,
Yeah.
folks.
No,
We're
still
figuring
nothing.
it all
Absolutely nothing.
We like to bring in as many cute white guys as possible into the studio.
This is AFTERBUZZ TV. You know?
out. Live TV. One time in middle school, I hosted the video announcements.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
no, now
You
I
can
can't
hear.
hear.
Yeah.
I can't hear now.
Thank you.
Wait, really?
Are you serious?
Now he can't
No.
hear.
I swear I can't
Oh my
hear.
god. Oh my god. It's
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Everyone,
I think
we're
it's because I'm using my
Okay,
own
now I
phone,
can-
so I'm like screwing up
Now I
all
can
the
hear.
audio.
I good.
Maybe
I can hear.
I can still hear.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Celebration.
pretend. Let's pretend like this never happened. Okay,
Yes.
ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Everybody back to one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm Jon Manganello, and you have made it to the after show for American Crime. We're talking about episode 7 today, and we're going to have no technical difficulties,
No
right?
technical
No more.
difficulties. No.
You guys, we have a very special guest, like I mentioned earlier. Wink, wink. Gwendoline Yeo. Yo, I'm sorry.
Yo,
How
what's
are
up?
you?
Yeah, yeah. Hi.
Now different type of difficulties. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And you were great in tonight's episode.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm the Asian, the fiance, the colored person.
Yeah, I know. We've been waiting
FYI.
for the woman of color to come on.
Here I am.
And there you were.
And you thought I was going to be black, right? A lot of people thought that
Well, no, I didn't think, because when Mark was talking about his wife, he said, she's like, is she black? Is she
Right.
Latina? And he's like, Mom, all it matters is that whatever he went on to say. So I knew you weren't black.
That's true.
I knew you weren't Latina.
But when
clear
you
that
hear
up.
when you hear the term like I'm a colored person, like do you think only black or do you think other people?
Well,
I think my head first goes to black, just
Black,
because
yeah.
that, and then afterwards, it probably like you open yourself up to realize that that's not the case, or
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
see,
Another
I
thing.
think black or Latino,
You
or
do.
Latina.
But you don't
in your
think
case.
Asians are?
You know, no. In my mind,
Yeah.
I don't ever really think of people of color as Asian. I really don't.
It's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah, I think it's like model minority. You know, it's like the invisible color, but we are people of color too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was weird to hear it. Just one of my publicists, she's black, and she was like, "That was weird." Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, "That made me feel weird too." You know?
It's interesting.
Yeah, it
We're going to
is.
have a lot of in-depth conversation, like what you just saw. But before we
I'm
do
sorry,
that, I
yeah.
want to make sure that we get our information out there so
Yes.
they can
Yes.
follow us.
Yes, please.
As always, you can find me at Twitter and on Instagram at Johnny Mangs.
You're in the general
That's
area.
that's the area.
Gwendolyn, where can we find you?
At Gwendoline, it's like there's nothing there. It's like rice.
See, there you go. The
There-
stereotypes.
yeah,
there.
there
Look
you-
at you. There you go.
Ah, come on now.
I can call myself a fresh
That's
uncle.
true, that's
Okay,
true.
at Gwendoline Yeo. Gwendoline Yeo.
Now, I know you're also at Instagram at official Gwendolyn Yeo.
Yeah, that's right. I just started, so help me. It's really sad.
Everybody go follow her.
Yes,
Yeah.
please do right now. I got to do that too. Actually.
Me too.
Thank you.
Erica Renee Davis here. Hello. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Erica Renee D. It's pretty
Hey,
simple.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. I'm Nicholas Grava. Follow me at Nicholas Grava. Instagram, Twitter, also very simple. Let's get into the show. I'm
Guys,
excited. I want to
things
start
are
talking
running
about
so
it.
smoothly.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so now that they know where to find us, absolutely. I want to ask you a couple questions
Yeah, sure.
before we get much further, because I know we were talking as we were watching the show.
Oh, first of all, can I just say, how amazing it was to have you. I didn't know you were going to be watching it with us, and to have your commentary while we were watching. I wish they could see that, because that was really great.
Yeah, and I'll say to the viewers at home, we might not have time tonight to cover every little detail of the episode. We'll talk in the comments on YouTube and on Twitter with you, but we really want to pick Gwendolyn's brain.
We do.
That's
Once in a
tonight's
lifetime
episode's
opportunity here.
So my first question is something we touched on earlier tonight. I've said in previous episodes, and I think I'll say it again, American Crime, just as a name of a TV show, to me is a big, almost overwhelming name for a TV show. I'm wondering if while you were filming, you felt that, if you disagree with me, if you think it's completely different than what I think. And I also want to know if there was any conversation on set about racial representation and how much responsibility the actors felt.
Well, in answer to the first of why it's called American Crime, John really has talked about it, and John and the executive producer Mike McDonald, like, they actually came up with the theme of it. And John Ridley's actually married to a beautiful Asian woman, and Mike McDonald is gay, and he's married to a Hispanic guy who's also an actor and who's also in the show. But
and can I just let them know that John Ridley is black, and because they might not know.
Oh, I'm so sorry. John Ridley created this show, and he's black, and Michael McDonald's white. He married a Hispanic person. Okay, and then I'm gonna start drawing.
You want to pull up a graph?
Can I get some Crayola colors, please? And John Ridley won an Oscar for 12 Years a Slave, and like that. And I think you have to kind of zoom out for a second. I know that I watched you guys were awesome last week. In terms of the obvious way to go is to go to the crime that it's a crime that's committed in America.
Right.
And this is a discussion that I've heard Michael and John talk about as well. Is it's not just that. Like, metaphorically, what is the crime? Right? Is the crime Barb, who has reversed racism, in her opinion, worked against her, right? Is the crime that you're born, the way that the American system is, you're born into stratifications of society, and you're dealt a certain set of cards, and you're born into more pain than other people. Is that the crime? Is it the crime that we have so much freedom that you have the freedom to do drugs or do anything else? Is that the crime? Or is the crime that we hate? Is that the crime? Right. So, I personally, and it wasn't that obvious, I think that the show is the antithesis of obvious. And I don't think that John was trying to be preachy. I really do believe, because coming from an interracial marriage, one of the executive producers coming from an interracial and to a gay couple marriage, they know what discrimination is like. Right. And when I auditioned for this part, I just wept. Because when you watch the episode, and I turn, when Barb says to me, "Do you think he's just trying to get back at me?" There was a genuine questions that I've asked myself in a relationship with a white man. Like, when you have that, just a little bit of an insecurity, where it's not about, I don't think I'm a beautiful Asian woman or a beautiful woman, but you say, is this about race? Yeah. Is this about something else?
Interesting.
And I think she strikes a nerve. And so I think that Rochelle is, as Paula Abdul would say, really straight up, she's just like, yo, like, is it or isn't it? And maybe he doesn't know. You don't know these things. So I think that, look, we're all dealt a certain set of cards. I think the crime, unfortunately, one of my perspectives is, I didn't grow up in a perfect family, and I grew up with a lot of dysfunction and pain in my family. But I'm sure that's not isolated to anyone at this table. And so I really feel that it's, we were dealt a certain set of cards, and you either fill yourself with hate, denial, close off, or you work through stuff and attempt to make it better, which I think what Mark and Rochelle are doing. And at the end of the day, less than a crime, this show is about family. I think, and every single person that I see in this show is alone. Is lonely. And Carter, in that second to last scene, says, I don't want to be alone. I want to be loved, right? And so that's what I think the show is about. Beyond all the color, beyond all the racial talk, it's about family and about connection and about love. people who have had screwed up lives who are trying to connect. And the question is that possible?
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point, because in the first couple episodes we talked a lot about the white guy, the black guy, the white woman, the Hispanic man. And the more we get into things, the more I see a universality between everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the one reason that we pick race, first of all, it's a very easy indicator. It's very easy to say, Barb is racist, she's white. Carter's the criminal, he's black. Woman of color is Asian. It's easy to pick those, I guess, to compartmentalize everyone that
label.
way. To label, yeah.
Right.
But, and not to say that it's right or wrong, but I think race and color is one of the first things that we're taught as far as identifying ourselves as different. Yeah. So I think that becomes the underlying and actually the overarching tone is race. Yeah. And then, it goes into people being lonely. Well, I'm lonely because I'm Barb and I raised my kids in the hood and these black people were prejudiced against me. Or I'm lonely because I'm marrying a white man and his family hates me. Or I'm lonely because I'm black and I'm Carter and I've always been looked at as a criminal even though I was middle class. So I feel like race is the very first talking point because that's how we grow up.
Oh, and I'm definitely not like putting you guys down for talking about race. This is about race. Like this is about race for sure.
I think you're.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about putting us down.
No.
You're like the nicest person we've ever met in our lives.
Just read our YouTube comments. You'll see.
I don't need a colored girl not liking me. You know what I'm saying? Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Shit.
Well, we're both women of color.
Yeah,
so
we're both women of color.
We're friends.
Yeah.
High five. Thank you.
And we learned that tonight. A woman of color could be an Asian.
Yeah. Yes. And of ethnicity, like some of my Jewish friends are like, we're minorities. Like you don't think of it religiously because it's not as obvious physically.
No. Listen, it's funny because
you gonna make a Jew comment right now?
No.
Oh, I thought you're gonna be like, I'm Jewish.
No. Actually,
physically, I'm gonna be like, whoa.
No,
Okay.
I am. It's funny. In the first couple episodes, it was an all-white panel here, and we addressed the issue. We said that is a problem. We should have.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and people at home are upset about that, and I think rightfully so. But I was saying, I called my mom and told her that. Because I'm 24 years old and I call my mom to address my problems.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right. Mom, that's good.
And she goes, do you tell him how I get stopped at the airport every time? My mom is 100% Lebanese and looks very Arabic and looks very dark, even more so. I mean, everyone thinks I'm white, which I guess I am. But anyway.
I didn't sense that. I sensed sort of some color.
But the point being, like, I think everybody...
She senses. She's good at that.
It's true. Every time I'm at the airport with my mom, she gets stopped and she gets felt up. And it's like a joke at this point because it's like, obviously she fits some sort of protocol. But it really is interesting. You just don't know people's stories.
I gotta give it, look, I need to play devil's advocate here, okay?
Please.
The last thing I need to do is stick up for white people, but here I am sticking up for them. And I think they're nice people. And there's two of them here. There are two of them here.
Nick, we don't feel like
when
monsters.
when people say, like, you guys are, so if we're people of color, then you're colorless. But if you really think about it, right, history just repeats itself because what is white? White's Italian, Irish, Scottish. And when those ethnicities came over, if you're Italian, if you go to the East Coast,
you were discriminated
you
against.
are ethnic. like you are Italian
Yeah.
color.
Oh,
so what does white even mean? Now white's like Nordic, Swedish, Kate Blanchett, iridescent, Lord of the Rings. It's like, what is white
It's
anymore?
absolutely true.
Yeah.
I was a white kid in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
But my mom, when she lived there, when she was a kid 30 years before I was, she was on the outskirts. She was like an Arab.
Yeah.
She was an Arab.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play even more devil's advocate.
Please.
Even more.
Please.
I think that these days, being white means if you get pulled over by the police, what do they say you are? And I know that's, that is such a, it seems like such a limited way of thinking, but it's true. Like, I mean, you're half Lebanese. If you got pulled over, they're going to be like, oh, this black guy. They're going to be like, this white guy. If I get pulled over, they're going to be like, this black chick was speeding. So, and I think, thinking about American crime and how we look at the legal system. Yeah. That is one way that black people and Latino people look at race. That's how, if you get pulled over, if you get framed for a crime, American crime, how the police going to mark you down on their police report.
What's going to be on the report at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, and that's so true. Look, obviously, as we know, you guys have mentioned it, the Trayvon Martin case, and, you know, it's hard. And Time Magazine this week, I got this is the cover of Time Magazine literally said Black Lives Matter, and it just shook me because I'm not Black. Do I have a right to speak about it? I don't know. But I asked every single one of my guy Black friends, rich, poor, center, every single one of them have been pulled over by the police. Yeah. Riding a bicycle. Like, that's just not something that I have to deal with. No, you know, people pull me over and ask me to do math, and I'm like, I can't do that.
Like, I'm a journalism major. Yeah. Journalism majors don't do math.
No, I'm a communications major. I can communicate. I can communicate, yeah.
You're an actor. Yeah. You could act like a mathematician.
I can act like a mathematician. I can play a doctor, but I ain't a doctor. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, you very convincingly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, yes.
A sergeant.
Let me tell you, that first scene, we see you walk out and you are put together. You have the sunglasses on. You're standing up. I mean, you are powerful. I was like, that is some BA. Like, you embodied it. And really,
it's a
Is a BA, like a badass.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
We're trying to. There are kids watching.
Yeah. You know, I try to blurt it out.
Now, I will say, I was so glad when you walked on screen. I was like, oh, she is a BA. Yeah. Because you're gonna need to fight with Barb. Not fight, but you're gonna need to stand your ground with Barb. Yeah. And you did in that scene. Yes. Oh my gosh. That was amazing.
It was amazing. And you and I talked a little bit before the show, and I was going to ask you about how your own personal experiences being bullied growing up, being Asian, being smart, being smart Asian kid in a predominantly, I'm assuming, white, preppy neighborhood affected you, and how you were able to use those experiences and parlay them into that scene with Barb.
Wow, holy. I'm on Oprah right now.
Yes, you are.
Okay, Oprah.
Did you just call our Black host Oprah?
Listen, I was just waiting for you to catch it. I was going to just throw out racial slurs and just wait for you to catch it. No, before I answer that, how did Rochelle come across to you guys? Like, what did you think as an audience member?
Now, let me tell you, as an audience member, when you started to go up against Barb, which I thought it was... A lot of people who were going up against her in the show so far were artificial or forced, I want to say, because of a cause. I felt you were very sincere in your way of going up against her, and that's why I thought it was one of the most interesting characters to go up against her since the show has really began because of that.
Totally
you were coming from a genuine spot for you personally, not anyone else.
Oh, that is so insightful. You guys are smart. Who hired you guys?
And actually...
Well, wait, but can I say
please,
because
please.
you know, my friend was like schooling me on Stephen Hawking because I didn't want to watch The Theory of Everything because I didn't want to be sad.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you know what he said? I said, what? He said, the way to end nuclear crisis, the way to end aggression is through empathy. And I think that addressing your question, and I love my family. It's all perception. My brother, sister, and I, we grew up in the same house, but we all had different experiences. And I love my mom and dad very much. But I grew up in a country, Singapore, where I felt it was very austere. And, it's #1 in math and science. But I felt like a total pariah. I wasn't smart. In fact, people said that I was the dark-skinned, wide-nosed, small-eyed, overweight kid. My nicknames are Miss Piggy and Meatball. Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Yes. And so I think my heart is still that. And I wore the Dwayne Wayne glasses, the
yeah.
And, I think what it does, you can do two things, right? You can be hateful, or you can open up, push through, and have empathy,
Yeah.
And, Tavis Smiley, who, who's a journalist, he was quoting Martin Luther King, and he said, Martin Luther King said, justice is what love looks like in public. So I think it's like, what is faith, right? Like, what is that? And I love that you noticed that she's approaching Barb, even though it's confrontational, that it comes from a place of love. Yeah. And she's saying, and it's truth. So, I just think when you're trying to just tell the truth, it can't be hurtful if you're just trying to reach someone.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Yeah.
I like the moment in that scene where Barb says, "Where's your family from originally?" And you say, "Oklahoma." Or, I'm sorry, where are you from originally?
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Okay, but where's your family from originally? Oklahoma.
Yeah. But you know what's so crazy? Like, sometimes people will come up to me, I don't know whether you get this or not, and they'll be like, are you Japanese or Korean?
Oh God.
And I'm like, is there just two? Can I have like there's other countries?
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, if I went up to a Middle Eastern person, like I'm not even gonna try to guess.
No.
You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be like, are you from Iraq or Syria? Like, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, how could that idiot think that? But then I look at the Middle East and I'm like, I don't know much about the Middle East either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like this storyline like kind of makes you check yourself.
It does.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
That's
It
something
does.
we can.
It does.
It does.
Right?
It does. And I was going to say, too, that I'm very interested in people's backgrounds. I mean, as a journalism major, like you want to know people's stories.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so when I meet someone of a different ethnic background, I might say, oh, where are you from? And you might say, Oklahoma. And as opposed to saying, oh, but where are your parents from? I usually try to say, oh, so you got, so you grew up, you were born here. I just like to try to assume people were born here as to not be offensive and say, oh,
Wow.
you're Asian and you weren't born here.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that with everyone now because I know when people come up to me now, I don't care. I'm not sensitive about it. But I think that people can sometimes be sensitive. So I just always assume
That's a
that
great point.
people are born in America until they say, oh, no, I was born in Colombia or I was born in Singapore.
Yeah.
I just say, oh, yeah, you're from where? New York? Okay.
I love that you do that because I go up to white guys, right? A white guy, and I'm like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "What? Like, where are you from?" They're like, "America." I'm white, and I'm like, "No, but where? What's your national?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm Scottish. I'm Irish."
Yeah.
Or sometimes someone will light up and be like, "Oh, I'm 100% Italian. Thanks for asking."
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They take pride in that.
I do.
Or some people.
Yeah.
100% Italian right here, actually. So, you know,
Oh
thanks for bringing it
yeah!
up.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love Italian. I love Italian. And that's another thing, in terms of that next label where it's like, I know my Italian friends, it's like it's about family and it's very Catholic.
Absolutely.
It just is part of the culture. And I grew up Catholic, so sometimes when I'm like, do you remember like all the bad press with Catholicism? And when someone was like, I'm Catholic, I was like, I'm Catholic too. But I don't want to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just find ways to connect. But it's so interesting because I feel like the struggle, and maybe one of Jon's point of view, and I think in a Rashomon kind of way to sort of all the perspectives to show everyone's lives. But in terms of religion or race, you wish that people were inclusive, not exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And religiously, racially, emotionally, socially, everyone just goes to the exclusionist way of doing things.
They do.
And I wonder if that's the human condition. I mean, genocide's happening right now in Africa, in Asia, and it scares me. But then again, you also have people who have tremendous empathy.
Yeah.
I think, and the world hasn't changed. Like the human condition hasn't changed. But I do think that when Jon, it's so great. You were talking when I was watching you guys watching the show, you were invested and had visceral responses to it. And I don't know if we're gonna know what we learned from the show till later because you experienced something. Do you know what I'm saying?
You do experience something, and I think that's what grabbed us in the first episode is that up until this point, you really don't see much on TV that does it. Maybe you have a scene, maybe you have a moment, but we sat there for an hour and I was experiencing and reflecting and going back into my own life as I'm watching this show. Yeah. And that's why I thought it was so amazing, and that's what made it stand out in the beginning. See,
that's what's so great.
Totally.
It's that you're 100% Italian, white-ish guy, Catholic, we assume.
Yep.
That, the more specific a story is being told, and this addresses the American crime, right? The more universally experienced and the more brilliant the writing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
When something is too broad and you try to tackle everything, it feels pushed.
Yeah.
But like if I sit down and I say to you, I had a tough life. My dad was not around. My mom was trying to raise the three of us. You guys can connect. You're like, it doesn't matter what race you are or anything. You're like, I can connect with that.
That's such a great point.
And
I think the show shows that. I think American Crime shows that everybody struggles. The white kid was actually a drug addict.
Yeah.
And the white parents try to cover that up better than, you don't even see Carter's parents, so no one's covering that up for him, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Like, it really is, people are all flawed and interesting and complex, and I love that the show shows that. So I don't think the show is necessarily representative of America, but I think it's representative of America.
Well,
yeah.
You know
If
what?
that makes sense on a very ground level.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to talk about addiction in 1 second, but I wanted to tell you, I forgot when you talked about the opening scene when I walked in, and John Ridley and one of the other producers, Stacey Littlejohn, who actually wrote this episode, and she's African American. She created that show Girlfriends. What up, Stacey?
My girlfriend.
She
I love
and,
that show.
and please bookmark me on addiction. Yeah. She was like, "You're a badass." Period. I was like, and I am always afraid to play the Asian bitch. You know, it's like, you know, you go out there and you look at someone Asian who's not necessarily hideous, and then you're like, oh shit, she's gonna be a demanding Asian bitch. And like the angry black woman, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I just go, I don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't return the food. Like, just don't do it.
You're right.
You know, and sometimes I'm like, screw it. Like, I can't be responsible for everyone.
No.
You're right. And I think American Crime is
can't.
you did such a good job of like watching you were asking us questions what we thought about, you know, your portrayal of Rochelle, but I didn't even see an Asian woman. And I think that when it comes to typecasting in the entertainment industry, you know, of course the producers and directors and writers want a specific look. But if you, like you said, are coming from a place of empathy and a place of sincerity and you're genuine, you don't even see that this woman is Asian. I didn't even see that.
Yes.
You know, I wasn't even thinking
Amen,
about
sister.
that.
And and what I was saying about what he said, you know, when I was walking around in that uniform, my color, I literally felt the color of me go invisible white, and everyone just saw the uniform. Like, people stood up a little straighter, like guys were like, you look nice in that. I just could feel like that the race went away. It just went away. It was deep. It was really deep. And I'm an immigrant from Singapore. And when I came over here, I used to talk like this, you know. And people were like, what? And I remember my high school quote was, Gwendoline will finally decide if her accent stays or goes. And they didn't realize how much that hurt my feelings because I was trying to figure out how to speak.
Can you explain that, your high school quote?
My high, you know their senior quote?
Yeah.
Senior quote?
I didn't have this.
You didn't?
You didn't have a senior quote? No, go ahead.
No,
you
go
explain
ahead.
it.
No,
Yeah.
well, you know, like, you know, your little senior picture, and then there's
Who writes these? Though?
The editor, like some editor of the paper will be like, oh, he's gonna be a host, or she's gonna be, you know, an actress, and you're gonna be a wonderful, you know, a clothing maker or whatever.
And that's what they said.
That was
about
my
you?
quote, and the people thought it was, and I was like, this isn't even funny, like, because they didn't realize that. Because I used to talk like this. I was like, maybe if I talk like this, because Singapore was a British colony, that would make complete sense. And then I used to talk like what's up, girls? And that's how then that's how I got into voiceover work. And I was like, oh snap.
There you go.
Yeah,
make
Do you know
it
what I
work
mean?
for you.
Being able to like look who's laughing right now.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just say that and to say like you guys are just so really insightful because that's exactly what he intended, which was. You don't even see color. You see a uniform, and you just see a badass woman, and not apologizing for it.
Yes.
And sometimes this is crazy. Like, I said to, I don't even know whether I should even say this.
Say it, girl.
I said to the casting director, and I said, she goes, just go for it. I was like, I've never said to a black person, am I too much if I go for it? But sometimes in a white room or a mixed room, it might be too much. What is too much? Wow. And is it because the black people have gone through more emotionally? Where you know, because I'm very animated and very gregarious, you know, and I don't know, like all my favorite comedians are black. Like it's like, you know, you wonder, is it because they went through something? But you know, so I mean that's just one aspect of it. Not that I don't like white comedians either. I think Louis Black is really hilarious, and he's Jewish. He's very funny.
No,
Okay, and I'm sorry. You were talking about addiction, and you know what was interesting that just came to my mind too. And I'm sure we all have had direct experiences with addiction or indirect experiences with addiction.
Yeah.
And okay, Aubrey's addicted to meth, or you know, Carter's addicted, or they're addicted to each other's levels, whatever. And I just through personal experience will just say that sometimes people can be addicted to God, religion, as an excuse. Don't get me wrong, I believe in God, and I think that's great. But I think there's a difference sometimes being addicted to love, or maybe to Barb, addicted to hate because she doesn't know any different. And is it her fault? You know?
Okay, well, that brings me to a question. I'm sorry, Nick.
No, I will. Go ahead.
I'm
going to write it down.
Okay. My question is, at what point do we as adults, as upstanding, tax-paying people, separate ourselves from the ignorance that we learn in childhood? So you say, is it Barb's fault? at some point you got to take responsibility for your prejudices. At some point, you know, I'm going to throw that out to something going on right now in the sports world. Britt McHenry got in the booth and berated this tow truck worker, and she was like, "You're uneducated. You're toothless. I have my master's."
Yeah.
You know,
Did you guys see that?
It was a horrible display of just hatred, and I want to cry because she's a journalist, and she was like, "I work for the news, and you're nothing." And so you're like 28, 29. This girl is 28, 29 years old.
Just for the people at home who don't know the story, because this is really
please do, because I
interesting.
don't know the story.
So Britt McHenry, white girl, blonde hair, works for ESPN as a reporter for hockey and for baseball and some other ESPN platforms. And her car got towed, and she was at the impound, and I guess like she was unhappy having to pay her car fine. Well, first of all, if you work in the news, you should be able to afford it seamlessly.
Yeah.
But other than that, she really berated the tow truck worker, saying, "You're toothless. You don't have an education. My skin is crawling being in here. I work on the news. I will see you." And so I'm thinking to myself, this educated woman who has her master's from Northwestern, shout out to Northwestern grads out there, is acting in a way that you would not expect a professional person in the media to act. So my question is, when you say about Barb, is it her fault? At what point do you take responsibility?
Amen.
For being prejudiced?
Amen.
That's a great point. I'm not even going to answer that.
Okay.
Because what I will say from an empathetic point of view is it's never too late for anyone to take responsibility.
Okay.
Even on her death, her last words being uttered is "I'm sorry" or "I love you." Then I say she won.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that.
I
to
agree.
Me,
I agree with you.
because you don't want to give. You know, sometimes you go, but I think it's like what is it? When is it healthy to back off and be like, "Yo, like no," or when is it you're like, "No, let's keep trying." But remember in one of the scenes, Tim Hutton, Russ says she has a heart.
Yes.
At some point, they
Yeah.
fell in love. At some point, they made love. At some point, they had 2 children. At some point, she nursed a baby. So you have to think, like, what happened? And not just even a white person. Like, I have someone who's close to me who is so, I describe her like a rabbit wearing a hedgehog outfit, where it's like, pew, 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 pew. Like, before, because inside is such fragility that she thinks she might break. Yeah, like, some people are so, you know, they can't do it. And, you know, it's interesting. I had a friend of mine break up with me, a girlfriend of mine, and said, "You are too honest." And I wrote this on my fan page, and I took it off because it got too intense. But, you know, you are too honest and you're too beautiful for a person, too authentic, and you make me face things that I don't want to face. And I was so hurt, but at the same time, I respected the honesty, because she's saying, "I can't handle this. I can't do it." And you know, some people can handle the truth, some people can't, but you just have to be where you're at. Like, not everyone is going to be able to have this kind of level of deep conversation.
Right.
You know?
And I think we all probably experience that, or at least we have people that we experience that with. When you were talking about when someone can be obsessed with anything, whether it's religion or love and this and that. And I think even back to when we were talking about faith, and you said, what is faith? What can it be?
Yeah.
I think this obsession, which is demonstrated in the show, is at what point do we let go, like you said, of things we've learned and just realize and look at what's in front of us and how we at that moment feel and react to it compared to how we think we should. And I think that's even goes back to when you say, you know, don't bring hate with, confront hate with hate. Like, love is the only thing that can conquer the hate and things like that. And I think that is just a clear demonstration of what these characters go through and who holds on to their past beliefs or what it is.
But this is a hard question. I know why it's hard to answer, or maybe unanswerable. When do we take responsibility for ourselves and our outlook on the world? I would suggest that a show like American Crime helps, because what's happening is my all-white suburban town right outside of Detroit, Michigan, tonight watched the same episode of television I watch. And I have a very strong feeling that whoever was home watching that has changed notions on what a Latino family is, what a black and white couple is. I mean, it's important that we're even having this conversation. And I think we can only change our perception if we educate ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what the show's doing in a small way.
I think that's so insightful, you know, because I was having a discussion with someone, and either this person or me said this brilliant thing. It was probably the other person. But they
Take credit for it now.
It was probably me, but I'll give the credit away today.
Today I'll be humble Chinese lady.
Maybe she's watching.
It was me. You said, that this show, people, is not going to give you answers, but it hopefully will give you choices. And it might not even be conscious choices. Instinctively at the water cooler, it's like something instinctively, right? It's funny, a black guy friend of mine said, it really hurts his feelings when women cross the street, when they see him walking down the street.
Girl, that just hurt me when you said it.
And so, you make the decision, I'm like, I actually was aware when I saw this one black guy walking. Look, if he was a thug, I don't care what color you are, like, I'm gonna cross the street. But he was a well-dressed black man, and he was whatever, and I smiled and walked on, and I could see him appreciate it, and I'm not trying to say I'm some savior or something, but it just registered.
No.
Having that conversation.
And that's something that changed you.
It changed me.
You admitted, in a way, you admitted fault and said, I'm going to change the way I behave.
Yeah,
And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. And and I will, again, play devil's advocate, right?
Do it.
Barb's like, this black person, is she Asian? Blah, 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 blah. What have our families said behind closed doors?
Of course, yeah.
What are the discussions that we've had?
Yeah, I would not want that on TV.
Do you know what I mean? So is it braver to be like, I don't like you because you're black.
Yeah.
I don't like, versus waiting till the doors close and say,
Well,
what,
okay, so
shades of gray.
Everyone's not going to like everyone. And I think that everyone has, in America, the freedom to dislike whomever based on whatever.
Right.
But what I think that people don't have the right to do, and I know everyone will disagree and I don't care, I don't think that people have the right to mistreat someone because you're Asian or because you're half Lebanese, or because I'm black or because, you're Italian.
It's an active mistreatment.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I might not like you. I might not like people from Singapore, but I'm not gonna not sit by you. I'm not gonna call you names. And
I love how I do not like people from Singapore.
Cross that.
You're like the only person.
See you later.
And so that's where I think the problems lie. And you're right. Like everyone has had kitchen table talk that you would not want, on YouTube, released on some kind of surveillance system. We've all done it. I mean, that's like the privacy of your own home is your safe haven to exchange and experiment and have these different thoughts with people close to you.
Yeah.
But when you go out into public and you are a professional or not, doesn't matter. If you're a human being with feelings, like, you have to recognize that everyone deserves the same treatment that you want. And so to answer that question, I feel like if you're hateful, be hateful, but don't mistreat me. But I guess that's kind of like it's a contradictory statement, because how can you really be truly hateful like Barb is and then not mistreat me?
I go ahead.
You go first.
So my thing is this: the conversation behind closed doors, absolutely.
Right.
And I think
Right.
a lot of us, yes, if it's public, they're going to get judged. They're going to get this and that.
Right.
But those are conversations that sometimes, as muddy and dirty as they have to be, will get us to a better outcome, and everyone's sharing other opinions.
It's true.
And I think, like you said, when is someone responsible? When you walk out and can separate and know that these are stereotypes and this is a separate person, no matter what race, anything like that, and you treat them with that respect. I think that is just the next level of someone that can separate those two things, not just actively act on these old thoughts.
But I think privately is where a lot of things can happen. It's like I don't know if there's a better or a gooder or a better. Sometimes someone's like, I just hate you. Like, sometimes I'd rather see that raw versus like, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yes.
Even though that person hates you. But I'm not saying that's good or bad.
No, I see what you're saying, though. I see you.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Behind closed doors, when no one's watching, if you're having the thought, to me, that's still a crime. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
Because that's going to what thoughts manifest into action.
That's true.
I agree with
You're
that.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
You're right about that.
And I'm just having that conversation with you. And I'm guilty of it. This is, Chris Rock, one of my favorite comedians, he was saying, okay, when you're driving, right, and someone cuts you off, we all know this experience in LA. I used to be like, that Asian, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, that old lady. Like, you're gonna label the guy with the leg, like, you know what I mean?
No, totally.
You're just gonna go there.
You are, yeah.
Because and I go, what is that? Why can't I just stop it? So now when someone cuts me off, I make a decision to not look.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not gonna look.
You make the conscious choice.
To not look.
Yeah, that's
smart. I like that. That's empathy.
I guess, thank you.
I am telling you, like, we have to do that. It's good that you're saying this, because it's a lesson. It reminds me, like, I need to stop, like, prejudging. Because what's going to happen is if that's a white dude, I would be like, oh, okay, whatever. And I wouldn't think about it. Right. How many white dudes have cut me off? A ton.
Right.
But that doesn't go into my filing cabinet.
But do you go like a redneck, or do you go like Jeep Wrangler dude, or young dude, or I don't know. Yeah. But you're gonna judge someone based on how they're different, right?
And it goes back to your whole thing, like what you were saying. You don't wanna play angry because you're worried that's gonna come off as angry bitch. Yeah. Asian.
Yeah.
No. It's so true. I mean, I was this past Halloween. I was a Hooters girl for Halloween, and I told my mom that, and she was like, "John, don't do that. You're filling out the gay stereotype." And I'm like, yeah, but I can't live my life as a gay man worrying about that. I just gotta go as a Hooters girl if I want to go, because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, right. And that's where humor comes in, right? Where it's like, where's the line? Are we gonna walk around and be like, "Hello, African American lady"?
Right.
Hello, men from I don't know where. And so, 10 minutes, we got it. Thank you. All the eyes were like.
That's funny.
10 minutes, got it. Okay, so.
There's so much to talk about.
What was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. I was like 10 minutes.
Walking a straight line, African American, gay, whatever.
Right. I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it! Walking a straight line, African American.
You're saying you don't want it to be like, oh, hello, African American lady. Oh,
you're saying the level of humor and where
that we are so careful that you can't have humor. Like I'll say, I have friends that say to me like, "Oh, you Asian," blah, blah. And I'm like, you're acting really black right now. You know what I mean? Like we say those things to each other, but there's a love, but you say it in love, and in privacy. But you know what I mean? But and then that could be recorded. And then people are like, taken out of context. And now comedians can't even do their thing. And you know what? It's so interesting. John Ridley started out as a stand-up comedian. And I'll tell you something. There's a great quote by an old Jewish man. I'm obsessed with Jewish men. Okay. No, I'm just having talking about Jewish men today. But he said, comedy equals pain plus time. You know?
Love that.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, I do.
Don't you love that?
I do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to put a bookmark in this part of the conversation.
Okay.
So much to talk about.
I know.
Oh my God.
Nick, did you ask that question you had earlier?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about life on set. Completely switched
the
topic.
Oh, yeah.
When we were first starting, I saw an interview before we even watched the first episode with Timothy Hutton and Felicity Huffman, and they said they were miserable every day except one day when they had a big dance party. First of all, were you there for the dance party? Second of all, were you miserable? Third of all, in general, what was life like on the set?
Yeah, what's the atmosphere on set of American Crime?
Was it somber, dark, fun?
I wasn't there for the dance party.
Okay. Sorry.
Because my arc starts later. Thank you for reminding me that.
We'll have a
I have no chip on my shoulder.
We can have a dance party tonight.
We'll do it tonight.
Because Asian people can't dance, right? That's what they thought. They didn't even invite me.
That's not true, though.
Okay, that's true.
You guys can really dance,
we
especially like hip hop and pop and lock.
Well, the Asian guy, I was like, this is the thing about,
We're back on the last conversation.
I'm just so sorry, but like Asian men,
okay,
I need to speak up for my Asian men, okay? Because I know sometimes they stereotypically aren't the lead, like they aren't like sexy dudes, but like a shout out to John Cho, or you don't have to be the nerd, like Asian guys can flow. They know what's up.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. So set. This is really interesting because sometimes I felt so lonely because all my scenes were with David Hoffman, and he's married, so I like to be respectful too in real life, and he's respectful. And when Felicity and I when we were on Desperate Housewives together, and we were texting, and then we saw each other in the trailer, and we were like, oh my God! And then we just both stopped. Yeah. And she said, I can't talk to you. I was like, I can't talk to you either. And we completely ignored each other. You know that scene, that was the first scene we shot. And that morning,
that's why you said it was really tough.
It was so hard because we both just had to, and I was like, and you're working on what you're working on, and we showed up, and we just looked at each other, and we were there. Like we were both transformed, and we were there, and it just sucks. Like you're going through the real thing, as we're all actors here. Like you're going through something. So you're constantly in that state of that, and in between takes, it's hard to be like.
Of course.
I think probably the funniest scene, that's the brief sex scene. That was 4 hours long. I can't even use like 4 seconds in it. It was so uncomfortable. The director, Sam Miller, who was amazing, he was like, all right, now yes, just more like that. Yes. No. You're just gonna come just a little bit. Just come, just almost, but then you don't. Now, and look at each other, like deep. Now, tantric. And me and David, I was like, tantric? How do you?
Oh my God.
And we were like, okay, what? And so we just cracked. We were like, okay. And then,
Tantric.
That's
Have
hilarious.
you seen the video? I'm sorry, this is a total side note.
Yeah.
Of Diane Keaton explaining what tantric sex is to Ellen DeGeneres.
no,
Yes, I've
Search
seen
it.
it.
Yeah,
It's
please,
so
please.
I'll
funny.
look at it
Please,
tonight.
please.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I also wanted to hear, and it's so funny because oh my God, David's gonna hate me for saying it. Like wardrobe will give you like different pieces of clothing.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna kill me. Okay. So they put 3 pairs of biker shorts to so he could choose one, and so he put on all. And so I was making fun of him. He goes, "Well, I didn't want to hurt you," because he's from Australia, and I was like, "That is awesome," because it's like, damn if you do and damn if you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're like, if you don't, you're like, well, why aren't
I've
you?
heard that
And
quote.
if you
Someone has
do-
said that
and if you
before.
do, you're like, what? So I was like,
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
This
oh
is
my God.
PG. Johnny can't take it.
I love this
but
behind the
wait,
scenes
but
stuff.
But I have to give a shout out. I have to give a shout out because Regina King, Penelope Ann Miller, Felicity Huffman, Glendalee, Aubrey, Caitlin, it was total girl power. Like, Aubrey was like, go to yoga. I was like, I'm so lonely because all of our scenes were separate. And Hector, all his scenes are by himself.
Oh.
Yeah, that's true. His arc is completely
So he was like,
different.
what about me? He's like, I'm by myself.
Oh.
So, and it was interesting because we were racially separated.
Yeah.
And it was like, like
Weird.
Regina and
Elvis?
Elvis,
Yeah.
like they were like in the corner, and I was like, "What's up?" And the Mexicans were hanging out. I was like, "Benito."
Wait, but
It's
you were
probably
all
intentional, too, though,
staying
huh?
in the same area? Or
We
what?
were all everyone had different, like some of us were in the same hotel, some of us were different, some had rented houses, and during the table read, like the first table read,
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
what
like,
was that like?
it was like, it was that sense,
Yeah.
of like, oh my God. And then we just relaxed into it. But it's interesting,
Yeah.
but we didn't go around talking about my responsibility as an Asian person, my responsibility.
You didn't.
No. It was about the work, man.
Yeah.
And it really was about the relationship and the love. Look, the Regina Carter scene, that could have been you fighting for your
Right.
mom. You fighting for your sister.
Yeah.
I think
know?
that's what I think really
Yeah.
quickly, I was going
Yeah.
to say this earlier, is stereotypes are shown on the show, but they're so uniquely shown
Yes.
that you see stereotypes and then it gets into something
Yeah.
else.
Yes,
That's all I'll say on that.
yes, because it's highly specific. Because I think,
Right.
I'm sorry.
We're getting excited.
It's highly This is how I get excited. I turn into this color.
No.
No. Yellow
hit the
and black.
microphone.
Yes, there you go.
You guys are excited. I don't know what. Okay, let's just stop. I'm sorry. This is live. Damn it. Okay. I'm sorry. Just getting out of here. What was I even saying?
You were talking about stereotypes, but I want to jump on what you said earlier.
But the
dysfunction
more
too.
specific
Yes.
you are, the less stereotypical things are. The more universal it is.
And,
you know?
and you talk about having dysfunction in your family, and just
Yeah.
dysfunction in general. And Nick, to piggyback off of what you said
Yeah.
too, like everyone's family is dysfunctional. And I think you said something
Yeah,
about,
of
I
course.
didn't really grow up in a normal family, and I don't know what the stereotypical American experience is, but I mean, everyone's family is dysfunctional.
This is what I said. I said everyone can relate to it.
You know, so
yeah.
We agree on that.
and I like what you said too, Johnny, about your suburban community
know
out of
you were
Detroit.
dysfunctional.
Well, I can't say that your family was dysfunctional, but you were saying that you hope that people are watching.
I call my mom for advice every day.
Clearly,
so-
he is dysfunctional.
No,
Hear ye.
but I really hope that all these little dysfunctional pockets in America, instead of looking at the show and saying, oh, Carter's this or Barb is this, that you see yourself in
Yes,
this.
absolutely.
I really hope people see themselves.
I agree. Very
I'm
quickly.
afraid that, yes.
We gotta get to predictions because we gotta wrap up.
Okay, go
All right.
predict.
All right.
I can't. I know what happens, so I can't predict.
Oh.
Well, then you go first.
Now, you're AFTERBUZZ.
Yeah, then we don't have to do
Wait,
predictions.
the time's over.
So what happens? I know, isn't it the aliens attack?
Oh yeah, I remember this part. This was funny.
Most shocking point in the
Yeah.
post episode was Barb seems like she's purchasing a gun. Is that what we saw? And we also saw Barb getting some violence towards her, something thrown at her car while she's driving.
Can you tell us anything?
Everything is high. It seems like everything is just is happening now, but it's just going on basically on steroids and it's getting heightened up. And I think everything's gonna break very soon.
I agree.
I'm going to make a very simple pedestrian prediction.
Let's hear it.
I think that once the crime goes public and media becomes a big part of it, I think we're going to see even more dysfunction in the community. I think we're going to see blacks against white, against Asian.
Yes.
I think people are going to basically stick to their own kind and perpetuate these prejudices that we've been talking about on the show and that we talk about every day and that happen every day in real life.
Yeah.
So Carter confessed to the murder and the rape of Gwen.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gwen. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah. But you made the point though that it wasn't a crime show.
Big moment. I mean, it was in that section.
It was about him telling the truth.
Exactly.
It was about him expressing himself and telling the truth.
I feel like, given what we've been given from John Ridley, there's more to it than that. I mean, maybe
Absolutely.
not. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all that happened. But I think there's going to be something more.
I would just encourage you guys to, yes, the crime is the crime. Yes, follow the plot lines. But I love this discussion that we had because I think it's family. It's how one thought can lead to action, can lead to mistreatment, can lead to other things, but can also lead to healing. And to really zoom out and think more in terms of that and see the love and the people trying to connect, and that's everything that we can experience. And I think that if you see other people struggle, you can relate, and hopefully that softens the hearts of others who might be too judgmental.
Yeah.
And see that we're all going through the same experience. I'm sorry, this is turning over, but it's
No, this is good. This is good.
That's a perfect note to actually be on right there.
Oh, really? Okay.
We do have to wrap up.
Come back and play with us, though.
Okay.
We love
This was the most fun we've ever
Yes.
had, and thank you so much.
Oh my god, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
You're
My
the best.
publicist is like, no, she had a great time. I'm just teasing her.
All right, one last time, just so you
I'm
know
just
where to
kidding.
find us all, because we'll be taking Instagrams, and we're BFF, right?
Yes, let's
now.
continue this conversation. We'll continue it on Twitter and Instagram and the comments in YouTube.
If I can, I'd love to come. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
You can find me at Johnny Mangs on Twitter and Instagram.
At Gwendoline Yeo. Like Gwendoline Yeo. Okay, yeah.
At Erica Renee D on Twitter and on Instagram and on Periscope.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
at Nicholas Grava on Instagram and Twitter and on Periscope.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was boring, right?
No!
Yes. Oh, what
and by
a
the way,
drive.
these guys are amazing. Insightful, smart. Thank you for caring. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being deep people who want to have that discussion.
You gotta come back.
Yeah.
Will you come back? Think
Done
about
deal.
it?
Okay, yeah,
We're having her back.
Definitely heavily think about it.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later. There you go.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.